Good evening, everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 15th of June, and right now it is 9:34. I just got back home from work. Today was a nice, lovely day. We met this really nice guy. His name was Michael. I actually met him right after I left, and I actually really want to share this with you guys. His name is Michael Poe. When we were leaving, he asked me if I was Buddhist because he seen my necklace, and I learned a little bit more about my necklace today. I bought this necklace several months ago. It's been almost a year now, actually, and not that long ago, a couple months, maybe about 3 months ago, I learned that these beads are known as Rudraks beads. Okay, they're made from a special tree in the Himalayan mountains found in India. And according to Indians, Rudraks is very, very, very high up there with value. Okay, Rudraks beads are up there, from what I've heard, as diamonds and pearls and jewelry of that stuff. Rudraks beads has a high of a value as those things because it's made from this special tree that Indians hold very, very dearly. Okay, and then I also found out that this is what I learned by this guy Michael today. I learned about the Rudraks beads by Indians when I went to a gas station. Sarah asked me about it and where I got it, and today this guy was telling me about the wheel. I guess this wheel is the wheel of Dharma, and I guess the wheel of Dharma is basically the 4 principles of truth, or the 4 noble truths that the Buddha taught. Siddhartha. And for those of you who don't know who Siddhartha is, Siddhartha was a prince. I don't remember where, what country, but he was the Buddha. And I guess as he got older, one day he wanted to get out, experience more, see more of life. And that's when he was a prince, and that's when he started to see, the bad things, more of the poverty type of things, what people are actually really going through outside of the palace. And after Siddhartha had seen that, that's when he made it one of his life missions, or one of his goals to make things better. Okay, and that's what he did, and then that's how he became the Buddha. And this guy was telling me that he was the 4th, and there's a 5th Buddha that's coming. And the first thing I was thinking when he said that there's another one coming, like, oh man, how awesome would that be, Like, who wouldn't want to teach people this stuff, Who wouldn't want to be a leader in that way, like a teacher? Like, you have your students and you're teaching them, and they come to you like, hey, like I'm having this problem. How could I fix it? How could I make it better? And then you are there like, hey, okay, this is what you're going through, this is what's going on, this is what the situation looks like, okay, and this is what needs to be done to make it better, okay, because you're the teacher and you are there. You've been there before, and yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys, and I learned a little bit more about my necklace, and yeah, I thought it was really, really cool. But tonight we have Chapter 10 on what to eat from our lovely book, The Science of Being Well series. And that being said, let's get started. Okay, Chapter 10, What to Eat. The current sciences of medicine and hygiene have made no progress towards answering the questions, what shall I eat? The contest between the vegetarians and the meat eaters, the cooked food advocators, and various other schools of theorists seem to be interminable. And from the mountains of evidence and argument piled up for and against each special theory, it is planned that if we develop on these scientists, if we depend on these sciences, we shall never know what is the natural food of man. Turning away from the whole controversy, then we will ask the question of nature herself, and we shall find that she has not left us without an answer. Most of the errors of dietary scientists grow out of the false premise as to the natural state of man. It is assumed that civilization and mental development are unnatural things, that the man who lives in a modern house, in city or country, and who works in modern trade of industry for his living is leading an unnatural life, and is in an unnatural environment, that the only natural man is the naked savage, and that the farther we get from the savage, the farther we get from nature. This is wrong. The man who has all that art and science can give him is leading the most natural life, because he is living most completely in all his faculties. The dweller in a well-appointed city flat, with modern conveniences and good ventilation, is living a far more naturally human life than the Australian savage who lives in a hollow tree or a hole in the ground. Okay, basically everything he was saying right there is that the way we are living nowadays is no more unnatural than how we were living before. Okay, how we used to have huts and tents and fire pits, and we would live next to a river for our water. That would be our source of food for fish. Okay, and we would have to hunt and do all that. Okay, yes, that was very, very naturalistic at the time. Okay, we had to survive, just like every other animal out there is doing right now. We're still doing that nowadays, just not in the same way. But anyway, the way we are living now is no more unnatural than how we were living before. Okay, that's basically everything he was saying right here. And now remember, he was going over something like this when we were going over the Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, and he was talking about contentment between two men, that a man left with his farm and his pigs lives just as content as a man who has a mansion and all this and that. Okay, like a mansion with tons of animals. Okay, let's say a huge ranch. Okay, there's a small farmer who has this little house with his pigs. Okay, and then there's another farmer that has a huge mansion with a giant ranch. Okay, tons of animals. Okay, the first one was from, let's say, 50 years ago. Okay, the farmer with the smaller house with only his pigs lived just as content as the guy who lives in this huge ranch with tons of animals. Okay, let's say there's a 50-year difference between the two. The 50 years after, they want more. Okay, how he talks through evolution. Okay, it is through evolution that we desire for more, that each generation is more godlike than the previous generation, for each generation desires more, for the living of more life, for that's how God expresses and grows and lives through us and advances himself more through us, through evolution, through all the good stuff. And yeah, basically all that's saying is how things now are no more unnatural than how things were before. Okay, the state that we are still living in is still in progression, and we are still moving forever towards advancement. Okay, so most of the errors of the dietary scientists grow out of the false premise as to the natural state of man. Okay, we had just read this paragraph. Okay, the dweller in a well-appointed city flat, I'll end it right here and then we'll move on from there, with modern conveniences and good ventilation, is living a far more naturally human life than the Australian savage, who lives in a hollow tree or a hole in the ground. That great intelligence, which is in all and through all, has in reality practically settled the question as to what we shall eat. In ordering the affairs of nature, it has decided that man's food shall be according to the zone in which he lives in. In the frigid regions of the far north, fuel foods are required. The development of brain is not large, nor is the life severe in its labor tax on muscle, and so the Esquimaux live largely on the blubber and fat of aquatic animals. Give me 1 second, you guys. So basically, Esquimaux sounds like it would be like an Eskimo. You know, someone living in the Iceland, the ice. They have and they live off of, you know, lard and fat. Okay, that helps them to keep, you know, warm, especially if you're in that type of climate. Okay, that's what it sounds like. But let me look it up really quick. Okay, Esquimaux. Alright. Okay. Yeah. Former spelling. Okay. Yes. Esquimaux. Esquimaux is a former spelling of Eskimo. Okay. So basically, Eskimo came from Eskimo is just what is that word I'm looking for? A shorter version of Eskimo. There. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm really tired. I had a really long day, and but we're still here and we're still making this happen. So regardless of how you feel, you got to do it. Okay, we're here to dive in. We're here to make it happen. Okay, every single day we have to keep going. Every day we have to keep going. Okay, the development of brain is not large, nor is the life severe in its labor tax on muscles, and so the Esquimaux live largely on the blubber and fat of aquatic animals. No other diet is possible to them. They could get no fruits, nuts, or vegetables, even if they were disposed to eat them, and they could not live on them in that climate if they could get them. So, notwithstanding the arguments of the vegetarians, the Esquimaux will continue to live on animal fats. On the other hand, as we come towards the tropics, we find fuel foods less required, and we find that people naturally incline towards a vegetarian diet. Millions live on rice and fruits, and the food regimen of the Esquimaux village, if followed upon the equator, would result in speedy death. A natural, quote, natural diet for the equatorial regions would be very far from being a natural diet near the North Pole, and the people of either zone, if not interfered with the medical or any dietary scientist, quote, scientist, will be guided by the all-intelligence, which seeks the fullest life in all, to feed themselves in the best way for the promotion of perfect health. In general, you can see that God, working in nature and in the evolution of human society and customs, has answered your question as to all you shall eat, and I advise you to take his answer in preference to that of any man. Alright, so basically everything that Wallace is saying right here, the difference between an Eskimo and somebody living, where was he saying? In a climate where there are vegetarians, okay, there is no right or wrong with the things that we are eating. For what the Eskimo is eating is just as natural as what the vegetarians are eating, okay? Also depending on where they're living, okay? The Eskimo is in the north, he is in the cold, okay? He has to eat more fat in order for him to stay warm and to survive and flourish, okay? The all-intelligence within that Eskimo is moving him to eating that lard, to eating that fat, so he could live in that type of environment, so he could grow and develop and, yeah, so live in that specific climate as compared to these vegetarians, okay? The intelligence within them is compelling them and moving them towards this type of diet, this type of supplementation, this type of food intake, because that is what works for them in that climate. Okay, they could flourish and survive in that climate by eating in that specific way. Okay, those types of foods. That is what he was saying. He is saying right here. Okay, let's continue. In the temperate zone, the largest demands are made on man in spirit, mind, and body. And here we find the greatest variety of foods provided by nature. And it is really quite useless and superfluous to theorize on the question what the masses shall eat, for they have no choice. They must eat the foods which are staple products of the zone in which they live. It is impossible to supply all the people with a nut and fruit or raw food diet, and the fact that it is impossible is proof positive that these are not the foods intended by nature, for nature, being formed for the advancement of life, has not made the obtaining of the means of life an impossibility. So I say the question, what shall I eat, has been answered for you. Eat wheat, corn, rye, oats, barley, buckwheat. Eat vegetables, eat meats, eat fruits. Eat the things that are eaten by the masses of the people around the world. For in this matter the voice of the people is the voice of God. They have been led, generally, to the selection of certain foods, and they have been led generally to prepare these foods in generally similar ways, and you may depend upon it in that general way and you may depend upon it that in general they have the right foods and are preparing them in the right way. In these matters the race has been under the guidance of God. The list of foods in common use is a long one, and you must select therefrom according to your individual taste. If you do, you will find that you have an infallible guide, as shown in the next 2 chapters. If you do not eat until you have earned hunger, you will not find your taste demanding unnatural or unhealthy foods. The woodchopper, who has swung his axe continuously from 7 in the morning until noon, does not come in clamoring for cream puffs and confectionery. He wants pork and beans, or beefsteak and potatoes, or cornbread and cabbage. He asks for the plain solids. Offer to crack him a few walnuts and give him a plate of lettuce, and you will be met with a huge disdain. Those things are not natural foods for a working man. They are not for any other man. For work, hunger is the only real hunger, and it requires the same materials to satisfy it, whether it be a woodchopper or banker, in man, woman, or child. Now there is something that I want to add to this as a trainer in the aspect of training for what we know what we need to eat, okay? In every one of your meals, okay, you need to have, your main meals need to consist of carbs, protein, and veggies. Okay, protein for your muscles, carbs for the energy, and vegetables for the extra added vitamins and minerals. Okay? The working man, he is saying the wood chopper, wants the proteins. Why? Because he is chopping that wood all day. He's using his muscles all day. He's exerting energy all day. Okay? He needs the proteins. Your body's going to digest that protein. It's going to absorb all the protein inside of your digestive, or inside the bloodstream, okay? And it's through the bloodstream that these proteins, okay, travel through. Okay, they actually travel through in the form of amino acids, okay? Amino acids are the most broken down components of protein. Okay, they travel through the bloodstream in the form of amino acids, and those amino acids are being picked up by your cells. Okay, those cells in turn link those amino acids together by peptide bonds, okay? That peptide bond is what turns those amino acids to a protein, and that protein is what creates the structure for your muscle. Okay, that is why we need protein to help restore our muscles. Okay, and then carbs. Carbohydrates are known as the body's main source of energy. Okay, mentally and physically, the body relies solely on carbs for its source of energy. Okay, this is why carbs are very important. And carbs are also known as a protein sparer. Okay, because when you have many carbs in your body's using those carbs for energy. Okay. Protein is the body's last source of energy. The body uses protein strictly for the muscles. So if you don't have carbs, the body will break down its own protein source and do this thing called gluconeogenesis, and turns that protein into carbs, into sugar, for it to use for energy. That's why carbs are known as protein sparers, and that's why it's very important to always get some carbs in with our foods, okay, with our protein. And then fats, we all know we need fats, okay? We need fats, okay? We don't need trans fats, okay? We also need to stay away from saturated fats, okay? A lot of things have saturated fats in them. Not a lot of things have trans fats in them. But the things that do have trans fats, those are the ones you don't want to eat. Okay, monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats are very good for you. Okay, you need those, and you can find those through almonds, walnuts, the healthy fats. Okay, because you got 4 vitamins inside of your body. They're known as the fat-soluble vitamins. Okay, vitamins A, D, E, and K. And the only way that these vitamins can get throughout each cell in your body is through the fats. Okay, this is why it's essential and very vital that we need our fats. Because a lot of people try to cut out eating fats, but we need our fats. Okay, fat does not make you fat. Excess calories does. Eating more than you're exerting, that's how you gain weight. Okay, let's continue. It is a mistake to suppose that food must be selected with anxious care to fit the vocation of a person who eats. It is not true that the woodchopper requires heavy or solid foods and the bookkeeper light foods. If you are a bookkeeper or other brain worker and do not eat until you have earned hunger, you will want exactly the same foods that the woodchopper wants. Your body is made of exactly the same elements as that of the woodchopper, and requires the same materials for cell building. Why then feed him on ham and eggs and cornbread, and you on crackers and toast? True, most of his waste is in the muscles, while most of yours is of brain and nerve tissue. But it is also true that the woodchopper's diet contains all the requisites for brain and nerve building, in far better proportions than they are found in most light foods. The world's best brain work has been done in the fare of the working people. The world's greatest thinkers have invariably lived on the plain, solid foods common among the masses. Let the bookkeeper wait until he has earned hunger before he eats, and then, if he wants ham, eggs, and cornbread, by all means let him eat them. But let him remember that he does not need 1/20th of the amount necessary for the woodchopper. Okay. The bookkeeper and the woodchopper need to eat the exact same things. Okay. Their bodies are made the exact same way. Okay. Yes, for granted, we all do have our own special qualities, but in general, they're all the same. Okay. That bookkeeper needs just as much. Okay, needs protein, needs carbs, needs veggies. Okay, he doesn't need as much protein as that woodchopper, for his work is not as physically vigorous. Okay, he does not need as much carbs as this woodchopper, because his work was not as physically vigorous. Okay, but I would say he might want to eat just as much vegetables as the woodchopper, because we all need our veggies. Okay. He doesn't need as much protein and carbs because his line of work doesn't exert as much energy and doesn't use as much energy. Okay, physically doesn't. Okay, so let us continue. It is not eating hearty foods which gives the brain worker indigestion. It is eating as much as would be needed by a muscle worker. Basically saying eating more than what is necessary. Eating more than he exerted than the muscle worker. That's what causes indigestion. Indigestion is never caused by eating to satisfy hunger. It is always caused by eating to gratify appetite. And remember, he was saying the difference between hunger and appetite. When you are hungry, that is when the subconscious mind, your body, is telling you, hey, I'm hungry. Feed me. So we could build new cell material and rebuild and repair more of who you are to keep you alive. Okay, and then there's appetite. Appetite is when your body's not asking for it to build new material. It's just something you do out of habit. You know, you go for that apple when you don't feel that you need to eat that apple. Okay, which that apple is good. It's a lot better than that chocolate. Okay, let us continue. If you eat in a manner prescribed in the next chapter, your taste will soon become so natural that you will never want anything that you cannot eat with impunity. Impunity. Sounds like something small. Impunity. You cannot eat with impunity. Maybe. Let's see. Exemption from punishment. Immunity from detrimental effects as of an action. Okay. Immunity from detrimental effects. Okay. So it's saying, if you eat a matter prescribed in the next chapter, your taste will soon become so natural that you will never want anything that you cannot eat with impunity. Okay. That you cannot eat. You will never want anything you cannot eat with impunity. Hold on. Give me a second to grasp exactly what he means right here. You will never want anything that you cannot eat with impunity. And impunity is immunity from detrimental effects as of an action or exemption from punishment. Eat. So you'll never want anything that you cannot eat with punishment or exemption. And you can drop the whole anxious question of what to eat from your mind forever, and simply eat what you want. Indeed, that is the only way to do if you are to think no thoughts but those of health. For you cannot think health so long as you are in continual doubt and uncertainty as to whether you are getting the right bills of fare. Take no thought. Okay. Quote, "Take no thought of what ye shall eat," end quote, said Jesus, and he spoke wisely. The foods found on the table of any ordinary middle-class or working-class family will nourish your body perfectly if you eat at the right times and in the right way. If you want meat, eat it, and if you do not want it, do not eat it, and do not suppose that you must find some special substitute for it. You can live perfectly well on what is left on any table after the meat has been removed. It is not necessary to worry about a varied diet, so as to get in all the necessary elements. The Chinese and Hindus build very good bodies and excellent brains on a diet of few variations, rice making almost the whole of it. The Scotch are physically and mentally strong on oatmeal cakes, and the Irishman is husky of body and brilliant of mind of potatoes and pork. The wheat berry contains all that is necessary for the building of brain and body, and the man can live very well in the mono diet of navy beans. Okay, there's something I want to share with you guys really quick. He's basically saying you could eat anything and still get the same results as all these people are getting, okay? Irishman is husky of mind and brilliant, or husky of body and brilliant in mind of potatoes and pork, and the Scotch are physically and mentally strong on oatmeal cakes. Okay, those are two different foods, okay, but these people are still just as strong and just as functional from them. Okay, so this is what I want to share with you guys. Okay, in the Master Key System we are learning with Charles F. Hannell. Okay, everything is made out of electrons. And all these electrons are made in turn get together and make an atom. And all these atoms in turn get together and form the molecule. Okay. The molecule, okay. All of these break down into molecules. Molecules are how did he explain it? Molecules, chemicals, you know, like chemical compounds. Molecules are the building material of atoms, you should say, like the next stage of atoms, okay, because there's atoms and then there's a molecule, okay. Your body is made of millions of molecules, okay, electrons, atoms, and molecules. When you're eating these foods, they're broken down into these molecular structures, okay. It doesn't matter the source you are getting it from. For when it's broken down, it's still in that same molecular form. Okay, that is why it doesn't matter whether you're eating potatoes and pork or oatmeal cakes. Okay, as long as you're still getting the necessary molecules, the necessary nutrients, proteins, vitamins, and carbs necessary for your body to sustain itself. Okay, let's continue. Form a conception of perfect health for yourself, and do not hold any thought which is not a thought of health. Never eat until you have earned hunger. Remember that it will not hurt you in the least to go hungry for a short time, but it will surely hurt you to eat when you are not hungry. Do not give the least thought to what you should or should not eat. Simply eat what is set before you, selecting that which pleases your taste most. In other words, eat what you want. This you can do with perfect results if you eat in the right way. And how to do this will be explained in the next chapter. Okay, there is one thing I don't agree with him when he says that. We can't eat what we want. We can't. Okay, it doesn't matter how positive we are thinking. If we're still eating all that chocolate that has all that saturated fat, that has all that those grams of sugars, okay, our body, we are what we eat just as well as we are what we think. Okay, remember, mind and body, okay? The body builds itself off of everything you put in there, so it does matter what we eat. We can't just eat what we want, because who doesn't want to eat that chocolate? Who doesn't want to eat that candy, you know? Well, not everyone does. I don't want to anymore. I can't remember the last time I told you how long it's been since I've had a soda. Once you're just living the healthy lifestyle, you have no urge for that, because it makes you sick. Once you eat it, your body just, dude, what are you feeding me? You know, where's the rice at? Where's the chicken at? Where's my protein at? You know, your body will be asking for these things once you're living that lifestyle. Okay. So with this chapter, I can't agree with Wallace when he says that we could eat whatever we want, because we can't. Okay. The person who eats those chocolates but still thinks positive is still going to gain weight. I'm sorry, you are. Okay? If you're not burning as much as you are, if you're eating more than you are exerting, you're going to gain weight. Okay? When you exert more than you eat, that's when you lose weight. Certified Fitness Trainer, NASM, NASM, known to be the best. Okay. So, that being said, watch what you eat, okay? Watch what you eat. Yeah, thank you for watching this video. I know this video wasn't exactly the best. I'm not exactly at my best right now, but I did the best of what I could do today, and yeah, we still ended up doing it, making it happen. And with that being said, this concludes our chapter for chapter 10, and that is on what to eat. And that being said, I'll see you guys on the other side of the galaxy, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.